Today is work in the rock garden day. The way that I am tackling my spring garden work is I'm kind of going from place to place, beautifying little by little. But this week I have an additional purpose for the rock garden because my daughter's senior prom is coming up and I want her to take pictures in front of the rock garden. So I have to do things like neaten up the edges of the flower bed. I need to pick some weeds, cut back some dead foliage, and add some mulch ultimately. Hi you guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in growing zone 8B and we are in southeastern North Carolina. Now I realize that this is just an April garden, so I am not going to plant tons of things in the rock garden that I know is only bringing spring interest because I don't want to use all of my space and then not be able to have summer interest in there as well. Instead, I plan on bringing potted things in, setting things up like just cute and beautiful. I don't know what all I'm going to do, but I want to show you all the things I have to work with and how I'm going to start to tackle things. Looking from the side of the rock garden and then heading up toward where the greenhouse is, you get a pretty good idea of things that I have in here that are already fine. Now this pink dianthus down here that is quote unquote an annual looks amazing. I don't have to do a thing. This down here, the rock sedum, I just have to basically clean out some of the little dead foliage that's in there. No big deal. I have a bit of weeding to do. Again, okay, no big deal. Right here, the blanket flowers are getting bigger. They don't have anything to show right now though, so we'll see about what kind of pots I might want to add into this space just to kind of fill it in a little bit more, especially because this is a front area. So I'm going to go ahead and freshen up my edges, making sure they're crisp and clear. Now, this creeping phlox is doing amazingly right now. This is when it really shines. So I'm lucky because I have so much phlox in here. So between the pink creeping phlox and then my verbena that's here also blooming, those guys are both amazing, amazing, amazing. Even my sunshine ligustrum has come back out in full force. So all of these things add up to a lot of pink and yellow. That doesn't bother me at all. I'm gonna stick with that instead of fighting against it by trying to add in additional colors that might clash, like red, for example. Over here, again, right in the front, I have this big bare spot. I don't think I even had anything planted in that spot last year, so I'll probably put a pot or something. Of course, you can see the little tiny yellow flowers, which are weeds, but since the pink and yellow is kind of the style, I think I'm gonna keep it like that. Now here's where more work comes into play. In the back, right at the fence, that's where I have some rudbeckia. That needs to be cleaned up, dead foliage pulled out and things like that. That pot with my cabbage in it probably is not staying. That right next to the cabbage is a weed, that's not staying. And then right in front of it, I have the cordyline. The cordyline right here is just stems at this point. So this is an area that I really need to fill in a lot. I have some mums, I have some cone flowers, things that will show up later in the summer, but for right now, I'm lacking a lot right in that space. Here, ooh, I didn't get to show you this before because they just popped out. I have brand new peony growth, which for me is actually amazing because I have no success with peonies at all. So I see that this is happening, the growth is here, but we'll see if I get any blooms. I kind of want to do like Beauty and the Beast and cover this over with a glass dome and just keep it protected so it actually blooms. Going from the peony right there with the phlox, this section could use a definite sprucing up. Things that aren't really doing anything right now because I have a whole bunch of daylilies right there that'll bloom over in the summer. And then as we move this way toward my emerald green arborvitae, you can see I have all these needles that I shake from the trees to get them down. Yeah, looks very, very, very messy. So ideally, I'm going to be able to get this area cleaned up so it can look sharp, and maybe I'm going to be able to mulch and get that contrast that I love happening. Once again, beginning from the center of the rock garden, now let me show you this direction. Past that beautiful dianthus where we started. Well, first of all of this viney stuff, that's all my wisteria. The wisteria is beginning to leaf out now since it's the start of April, but usually it's not really till 2 or 3 weeks into April that we start getting the actual purple plumes. So that stinks, because how gorgeous would that have been if they were there for her prom. But as we look over to this corner area, everything looks awful. We are talking, we need mulch, of course, to again get that contrast, but we have weeding to do. Do you see all these round leaves? That's called dollar weed. Dollar weed is like the bane of my existence. I also need to cover up my drip irrigation. Facing this way, my camellia doesn't look like it fared too well over the winter. So I have to trim back all of these dead stems, and hopefully it does a bounce back. And then I have my hydrangea back there that also looks like the growth is a lot less than where we ended last year. So I'll do some clipping back there as well. Here I have a loose strife that is beginning to leaf out down at the bottom. So I'll clip back this foliage as well. That's going to get super duper tall. And then that's where we begin with stuff that's already just naturally looking good. So you can see the area that I'm going to be working in. Let me just show you some of the things that I have that could potentially go in there. So these are a couple of the goodies that I purchased during my recent plant shopping. So I have this yellow hibiscus, which works because it suits the color combination that we have going on over there. And I have this big pot from a hibiscus last year that was one that did not overwinter in the greenhouse. So I have this pot that the hibiscus can go in, so that's a thought. I have this gorgeous Kalanchoe trio of beautiful flowers. This is one that I picked up at Walmart. And so since it's pink and not red in there, because again, I think red would mess with the whole vibe of what we have happening, this is a potential to pop in somewhere where I need something. And even though I did not get coleus in order to put into the rock garden ultimately, because I think it probably gets too much sun, this is a part sun coleus. This is Hair Escape Queen coleus. It does have the pink inside the center of the leaves there. By the way, we are so full of pollen around here now that the coleus probably needs a good bath so that you can see through all the yellow coating on top. Nevertheless, I have these available in case I want to pop them in, and it's only temporary because it's just a handful of days and then we have the prom. Then I had spray painted all of this stuff freshly just the other day, so that is stuff that I can use in there. Maybe the chairs get set up in front, perhaps in this area right here. I don't know, we'll see. And then we have the greenhouse. So I can basically take out anything that I want in here right now because the greenhouse is just staying open anyway. I'm thinking maybe the Dipladenia can come out. It is a beautiful dark pink color. It may appear red right now, but if you compare it to like this plant stand down below, this is actually just a beautiful pink. So that might be something I can do. The bougainvillea in the back really is kind of scraggly right now, keeps going through periods of where it's adding new growth. And I see new foliage appearing, new blooms are appearing, but it's kind of too scraggly for right now. I have some begonias, they could possibly go in there. So it's kind of going to be a lot of fun because it's a wait and see situation. I have a lot of things that I can work with, and it's just a matter of what I ultimately choose. Ooh, I forgot, I have, is it ham and eggs? This ham and eggs lantana I bought at the end of the year last year, never put it in the ground, but it is pink and yellow. Now that's a perennial, so I might actually put that in there forever. I'm going to start over here in the corner area that needs the most improvement, because at least this way, everything, if I start here, everything will start to look kind of evenly good before I add the finishing touches. Let's start with the pruning first. My camellia, different kind, that I have in the front yard looks amazing and didn't suffer like this for the winter. So hopefully that's kind of what the problem is and not that it hates living here. dead foliage has been pruned back decently, so now I'm going to tackle these dollar weeds, which unfortunately I have hostas growing in here and stuff, and these guys are like the taproot kings of the world. So I have to loosen up the soil nicely so I don't ruin other plants around it. And you can tell a dollar weed taproot by this white. See if I can get a long piece to show you. See this white stem? When you're digging this stuff up from under the ground, this is what it does. It sends out that taproot and just keeps rooting and then tossing up new green dollar weed everywhere. It spreads so easily. I don't use any kind of weed killer on it, of course, because it's right in the middle of my garden. So I painstakingly pull it out in the way that I'm doing now. So I'm going to do the best I can and then cover up my drip irrigation tube. The next part of the job here is going to be to redefine my edges, and so I always like to pull out just a little bit more of the flower bed. It gives me a little bit more room because each year inevitably I add things to the garden. So I'm going to look to get rid of this whole line of vegetation, and of course the line needs to extend to the main part of the flower bed so I can have a defined look here as well. Since I'm just removing a bit of grass and not like humongous chunks like I did in the front yard, in the front I would use a shovel to go ahead and lift this up. But here in this case, I just need the help of my 3 prongs. Instead of moving these pieces of sod to a different area of the property, I'm actually going to get all the dirt out of here that I possibly can, not waste any of it, and reuse what I can. Now that I got the junkier work done, like the maintenance, cleanup, and pruning, now I can start making way for the fun work, which is the designing and adding in my new plants. This space is clear, the edge is defined, so I'm going to lay down some mulch. Something you should know about me if you don't already is I have a rock obsession, like big rocks like this, and I kind of collect them from friends and family's properties, particularly people who live in the north that have rocks readily available on their properties. They let me come and take them and they become special. I have memories attached to certain rocks, which may sound crazy, but I take them home and they're important to me. This rock right here, my husband and I actually engraved our initials on it with our best friends whose property we got it from, and now it's being hidden by the dianthus. So what I'm going to do is take some of these scrap pieces of like broken stone or edging and try to get them underneath this rock. I don't know if I'll film it because it probably will not be pretty, but if you'll be able to see more of this boulder in a little bit, that's what I have done. Now, I don't want you to think that I am a crazy person who tried to manhandle a very, very heavy rock like that one. I did not. I have learned a lot about levers and fulcrums from our rock collection history, let's say. We have taken home some very large boulders in our truck, and to get them from the ground into a pickup truck is difficult. We're not sitting there just carrying around hundreds of pounds worth of rocks and things like that. So I was able to just use lever and fulcrum idea and lifted the rock up. So now I have those extra rocks underneath, which I'm just going to cover any spot that you can see them with the mulch, and no one will ever know. It's interesting what some elbow grease can do, right? This area of the rock garden started out looking the worst out of the whole part of the rock garden, and now we're looking kind of good. Not designed yet, but we're looking kind of good. So I have my two coleus. So again, these are Terrascape Queen Coleus, part sun. Right now you might be looking at me and being in the sun and thinking, there's sun there all day. But what's happening is, as the sun goes around my property and is heading west, so the ocean's that way, the sun's gonna end up that way, this area gets shade in the afternoon. Originally, I was creating this area as a part shade garden, and I had been very, very excited about it because I don't have very much shade in my yard at all. However, it's not exactly as shady as I want it to be. So I'm wondering and thinking about perhaps adding some sort of height onto my fence line, sort of like we did with the privacy screens. They're built up higher. This way maybe I could block a little more of the afternoon sun and keep some things sheltered. I have a couple of pots that look like this that I'm thinking maybe I'll plant both of the coleus in, and I can pop them into the landscape. And then besides that, I have these two pots that were given to me. The pots themselves were given to me from my sister for Christmas 2 Christmases ago, and they have light pink stripe on them if you can't tell. So I put a hydrangea in this one this year. This is a begonia that I've had overwintering in this pot. Both of them are pink tones. They don't exactly match each other, and in fact these are really probably red. So I'm not sure if they're both gonna go here, but because we have the two pink pots, I'm considering it. So I think I'll put the coleus in these, and we're just gonna start working from there. Once I set those two pots down, I thought they could use a little more height. So I went into the greenhouse and got these two chairs that belong to a mini bistro set that my daughter had, and it was a play set for her before, but it's metal, so I just spray painted it black and basically use it as a plant stand now. So I'm gonna see if these will maybe add something to the garden, or perhaps I won't be able to see them at all because they are black and so is the mulch. Let's see. So if I'm being honest, I don't love these two pots. This one I think is the one that's bothering me because it just has too much red. So I'm going to move it to the other side of the hydrangea. And this way I'm getting it out of the line of pinks that I have going that way. Plus maybe then the pots will show up better together. Oh, you guys, you remember my Diplodenia pot that I had by my poolside last year? One of my absolute favorite pots. Woo! I think this is gonna live here for the time being. Gosh, it overwintered magically inside the greenhouse. But the other thing I brought out of the greenhouse was this begonia that definitely has more pinkish colored flowers than the other one. Although they're salmony pink, so still different, but maybe different okay in this case. Let's just see here. I have a little plant stand. Honestly, I think I'm just gonna keep moving on and we'll just go down the stretch and start to see what we like and what we don't like. I am super glad that I have things in the greenhouse to pull out. And you know what? It isn't April 15th yet, so I'm not technically past my last average frost date, but there's like no temperature dips below the 50s even in the 10-day forecast. So I think I'm home free. If I'm not, that's my responsibility to cover things up. I got some cleanup to do back here toward the fence, just some weeds and stuff. And then if you follow me on Instagram, you may remember this gate that I just used as a piece of decor, just kind of like a little garden prop. I'm thinking I might be able to put it somewhere back here if it's stable enough, because boy, oh boy, it is windy. Coastal breezes almost every single day. So you really do have to worry about how you're setting things up, just for that reason alone. And I found a bracelet back here. Well, that's strange. It's just more dollar weed, some black-eyed Susan, dead foliage, because of course they're not going to bloom until later this summer. So I'm just picking out some of that. And then let's just see if I get a zip tie. Does that even look good? Let's see. There's a really nice thing. Having a husband who's handy means he's got all sorts of interesting little things that I can use for my project. So I have some black zip ties that I'm going to attempt to wrap around the 4x4 post to keep that gate piece of decor up a little bit higher. So, well, whatever. Let's see what happens here. I don't even know if you can really see the gate. Looking through the camera, it's hard to see because it's shadowy back here. But if I get the first zip tie up, let's see, maybe right there, right below this light. I think that could be awesome. And the really nice thing about a zip tie is that I can remove this and I don't need to keep this here forever. So it's not like I need to screw it into place. Work smarter, not harder. Set it on the ground first, silly girl. Now we're gonna go right below the light and we're gonna try to keep it centered with this post. Ugh. Can you see it? Now I know that not all of you were with me last year, but I used this, which is a mandevilla, looks just like the Diplodenia. They just have a little bit of a different growth habit. The mandevilla actually is more viney and wants to travel upwards. Well, I had this planted in my waterfall in my poolside gardens, and I had 5, I believe. I took them out of the waterfall to overwinter in the greenhouse, and then the intention was to put them back into the waterfall again this year. At this point, I'm still thinking of doing that, but I would like to use this in the rock garden for now because I think it's going to start drawing your eye from where I put the first Diplodenia and then along where I might put these other ones as we travel toward the greenhouse. That's the idea. So let me see if I can make that happen. Okay, so here's the scoop. I potted up this new yellow hibiscus. You saw me get it from Walmart. It is glorious in the blue pot. This is the pot it came out of. I'm gonna put this upside down in here. Here's the thing with these. I had both of these pots last year with hibiscus in them, and neither one of them were overwintered in the greenhouse because, quite frankly, I don't have enough room to overwinter every single one of my plants in there. So, new hibiscus in here, and I'm hoping the mandevilla can fit in this. No, too tall. I need a different pot, a shorter pot for the bottom. Let's try it again with this one. That is magnificent. I absolutely know that I'm a little bit crazy, but when I looked back at that pot, it looked like a little bit too much blue was showing. So I went to the part of my yard where I have creeping Jenny growing purposely just to make it as spillers to come out of pots. So I dug some of it up, and I'm going to just see if I can have it drape down the front a bit without making too much of a mess since I have all this dirt in my hands. Also, being fully aware that it is still early spring and the creeping Jenny hasn't had all of its time to grow creepily long. Nah, I don't even know if that's going to work at all. It's so short. It's certainly not going to grow in a week. Let's see what else. I took multiple pieces because some of them were a little longer than others. Now, once the roots take hold, the creeping Jenny will take off, but are you thinking what I'm thinking? Train the mandevilla to go up the garden gate. Woohoo! That's exciting. Woo-wee! I'm gonna have to call it quits for today because even though I got probably more than halfway through the rock garden, I didn't get by the arborvitae, I didn't finish the rock garden, and even though this video might not be all that long, it's taken me hours to do what I've done. So I'm tired and I'm ready to relax a bit now. So much beautiful color over here, so much freshness. I just love defining the front line of a flower bed and also adding that fresh layer of mulch. It just makes everything pop. So I'm feeling really, really good, and I'll take whatever day I can to finish the rest of this, and then I'm gonna be all set. Thank you guys for following along, and I hope you feel motivated and inspired and ready to work out in your own gardens and create beautiful things too. Follow me on social media, and until next time, you guys, happy planting.